Seek to speak.
So I think there's kind of two phases to that question. Number one, what are the obstacles itself? And number two, what can we do to kind of like overcome them while remaining calm and while making sure that we've got the situation handled? And I think in terms of the obstacles, there's just two main things that I feel everything breaks down to. Number one, we don't fully believe in ourselves. So it's like sometimes when we're young, we're like, oh, yes, I can be successful. But we don't see ourselves as creating waves or creating changes as maybe people who are more experienced. And it's because we ourselves kind of like have that limiting belief that, oh, okay, yes, I can do this, but I'm still constricted by school or this or that, that we don't actually end up breaking out of those confinements and things like that. And the second thing is, even if you do believe in yourself and you learn how to gain that self-confidence, sometimes the world around you might not believe in you. So just because sometimes it's a double-edged sword. So some people will go out of their way to help you out if you're young. Some people will go out of the way to avoid giving projects to you if you're young, because it's just depending on people's own programming of how they see youngsters and so on. And I think for me, how to maintain composure, it like when you have these situations, because many times, like for example, if you are in a meeting, like this has happened to me so many times, and then the person that I'm meeting says, this is an amazing project, I think, and this is actually something that happens even until now. This is an amazing project. I think you guys, I see the results, I see the benefits for my company, it's great. It's just that I don't see how it can be run by students. What if you have an exam? Will you just leave this project? Or like what's going to happen then? So it is very frustrating, especially in the beginning when we used to get these questions. But for me, how I maintain composure is number one, it's good to have good role models. And you will never know how to maintain composure if it's your first time facing a situation. So don't expect yourself to be perfect the first time you face an obstacle. But for me, like I mentioned, I had this amazing platform of people, and I had so many people that I could go back to when I needed help. So like for example, like if you see Dila in this call who's helping me share the slides and things like that. So Dila actually runs an event organizing company. And I used to, when I first started out in Ascendance, a lot of the events that we just help out with were actually run by Dila. And we'd see sometimes huge catastrophes happen in the event. But Dila, as kind of like the person running the show, would just maintain calm. She just looked for solutions straight away. She was always like on top of everything. And just seeing that as a kid made me go, oh, so I don't have to get upset. I don't have to get frustrated. All right. And that kind of like gets programmed in you. So the next time when I'm running an event on behalf of Ascendance, I kind of like mimic her reactions. I kind of mimic the way she handles things. And even though I had 6 years of preparation before I started my business, it doesn't mean that I'm always good at keeping composure all the time. I think it's also to like to understand and accept that things will make you lose composure. That is the way of the world, because only when things trouble you a little will you actually learn a lesson in it. If something is affecting you, it's sent there by nature or the universe for you to learn something in it. And for me, the thing that I need to figure out is, what am I supposed to learn in that? So like one of the situations that happened is just before my 18th birthday in 2020, Start My Name saw a sudden surge of clients, which is great. It's a good problem, right? You get more clients. But I think I was a little underprepared as a new entrepreneur, and I was working day and night on emails, on calls, and my team and I were all like really stressed out. And I tried to take like a week off for my birthday, but that didn't really work. So I ended up having calls in the house, in the hotel, in the car, and I was just like on Zoom all the whole day. And with all this stress, with having assignments as a college student too, one client called me up, and 3 days ago they said, thank you so much, you went out of your way to help us here, you dealt with this, you that, you did exactly what we wanted, thank you. And 3 days later on my birthday, they called me and they yell at me and they say, hey, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't do this and that. And then I was like, first of all, this project I'm working on was kind of like, I just did a bit of extra stuff for them because I thought, like, give first and things like that. But they then ended up like having this little issue with it, and I was like, ah. So at that point in time, I lost my composure. I'm going to be honest. I just said, oh, okay, I just ended the call, and I was crying and upset, and I didn't know what to do. So that's when I was very lucky that I actually have amazing mentors. So one of my mentors is actually the founder of EK Ideas. And I called him and I said, this happened. I don't want to, why did you say this? It's so hard being an entrepreneur. It's so hard to maintain my composure. Ah. And he just said, breathe, relax. And he said, look back at what this situation is trying to teach you. Who knows? It's because of this client that you might unlock something that will take you to the next level. Of course, I was still upset. So he said, you know what? Just relax, take it easy. Maybe write a blog or talk to someone about it so that at least these experiences don't bubble inside of you, but you start looking at the lessons so that others can also learn if they're a teenage entrepreneur in a similar situation. So I started off by writing a blog, and I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And the next thing I knew, I had written for like a week straight. And I'd actually written a book called The Makings of a Teenage Entrepreneur. And the best part about the book was not just the book itself. It was that after I wrote this book and I brought it back to Ascendance, I said, hey, I wrote this. Do you think it's any good? And they said, yeah, this is amazing. We can actually use this to reach out to our goal of 1 million teens in the next 5 years. And they actually accompanied the book with, and from the book, they got this idea to come up with a platform called the teenageentrepreneur.com, where they basically brought all of their online programs that we had just brought ad hoc on in 2020 and consolidated it in one central place. So now we have a platform with 50 live events with VPs from companies like LinkedIn Global or places like Google Play who join in as well. To even people like Nicola and David and Harit Iskandar joining us to empower the youth. But that idea would not have come if I did not have that situation where I lost my composure. So it's not about whether you lose your composure or not. It's about how you recover it, how you see the lesson in it. If something's making you lose control, good. It's just something that you need to learn from it.
Seek to speak.